Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another HFY narration. Today we'll be reading A Terran's Weakness, made by u/senior puns. Thanks for the writer's permission. The link for the story is in the description and I hope you'll enjoy. Let's begin. As Cycrest glides into the gymnasium, he finds himself bemused by the amount of new students. He feels a twinge of guilt for taking advantage of the gentle giant's fearsome appearance, but it isn't his fault that these new heavy worlders are great for business. If even a third of these new pupils stick around, he might finally turn his dojo into something respectable. As Cycrest makes his way to the center of the padded mats, he sizes up the new group. A variety of sensory organs peer back at him. He can taste their nervousness in the air. Around 60-ish locals from the surrounding system, all around 3 to 5 units tall. Perfect. Greetings, gentle beings, the reptilian Auscul exclaims. And welcome to the self-defense amongst the stars. My name is Cycrest, and I will be your instructor this evening. He pauses a moment to retrieve a beaten-up holo emitter from his satchel, placing it on the floor before continuing. The subject of today's lesson will be how to defend oneself from the galaxy's new Xenos, Terans. During the pause, he uses the end of his tail to activate the emitter. A fuzzy blue 3D render sputters to life. He gives the emitter a smack and the picture clears, showing a rotating Terran standing in a neutral pose. Cycrest beams in pride as a variety of fear responses are let out. He knew giving the render an intimidating expression would set the mood. In today's lesson, we will go over the best methods you can use to defend yourselves from a Terran. That being said, however, the best defense against any Xeno who wishes to harm you is to simply not be there. A few faces looked back at him in confusion. Cycrest continued. Flee! Scream for help! Get away from them as fast as possible and as safely as possible. That is your first and best defense. What I will be teaching you today, I hope you'll never need, and should only be used as a last resort. A few faces looked almost disappointed that they shouldn't be fighting for their lives, but it is better to be a coward and live than die fighting some Hablock ganger. However, sometimes slithering away is not possible. You are cornered in an alley and there is nowhere to run. In those instances, you can and should use what I'm going to teach you. It may save your life. This is especially true when regarding Terans, as these primates evolved as persistence hunters. A few faces perk up as the third render changes from a neutral pose to one of the Terran running. Cyrex can't help but think how silly the thing looks, flinging its appendages one in front of the other, but a quick flick of his tongue tells him the room does not agree. Their stamina is reported to be near limitless, and as such, running from one when help is not immediately nearby is not recommended. They will simply catch up to you, and then you will be back where you started, except now you will be tired. He lets out a small chuckle. First, let's go over some things you should not attempt. The rendered Terran stops running, returning to a neutral position. The skin disappears, revealing the Terran's musculature and bone. Being from a heavy world, their muscle, bones, and skin are much tougher than the galactic average. And while not impervious to lacerations or piercings, it is nearly impossible to incapacitate quickly through these means. A Terran can lose 15% of its blood before it starts to feel any effect and will be incapacitated only once they've lost more than 30% of it. Their internal organs are also protected by their thick musculature system and dense bones, making it very difficult to damage one in a fight. The Terran's torso becomes translucent, showing the Terran's inner organs. Small noises of disgust can be heard from the class. So when cornered by a Terran, it is best to first disable them by striking fiercely and quickly at one of their weak points, many of which are located about the head. The skin of the render is returned. It focuses on and enlarges the head of the grimacing Terran. First, this area of the skull is particularly vulnerable to blunt or gouging attacks. The nose and the eyes are highlighted in red. Like most of us, Terrans do not enjoy having their sensory organs attacked, and while their eyes are recessed into their skulls, successfully jabbing or scratching them will make it much harder for a Terran to pursue you. The nose, similarly, if struck with enough force, can actually kill a Terran by forcing the bone into the brain. The render shifts, cutting off the top of the skull, the red sections now highlighting the chin and the neck of the Terran. Second options are the jaw and the throat, also known as the windpipe. While I wouldn't suggest these as first choices, if you're not capable of being precise, they are the quickest way to incapacitate a Terran. If possible, a quick blow to the side of a Terran's jawbone will actually cause their brain to jostle within their skull and render them unconscious. A blow or laceration to the windpipe will cause quite a bit of pain as well as preventing them from breathing. It is very difficult for a Terran to do anything if it cannot breathe, much less chase you. The 3D render returns the Terran to a standing neutral pose. This, however, presents two issues for most of us, one of which I'm sure the majority of you have already thought of. The Terran rendered doubles in size, dwarfing the O-School. The Terran's head now nearly touching the ceiling. Terans are incredibly large, on average being 8 units tall, but some can even reach 11 units. If I were to try and coil up, then leap at a Terran's head, I would barely reach their neck, and I'm taller than most of you while on my stomach. The second issue is this. The render changes from a neutral position to the Terran standing in a conventional boxing pose, its arms held in front of its face and torso. This common fighting position is incredibly adept at protecting most of a Terran's weak points. And even an untrained one will take up this position just as a result of seeing it so often in their media. So, what is there to do? How can we not only bring the Terran's head down within our reach, while also moving their powerful limbs out of the way? Well, let me introduce you to the Terran's true weakness. The render focuses and zooms on the Terran's waist, the red now highlighting a spot between their legs. The groin. Thank you for listening. I'm glad to still have you here. This one was enjoyable. If you have stuck around, go and show your appreciation to the writer on HFY. I hope you're having a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.